I tried a vegan diet for a full 7 days until this happened. In this video, I'm gonna talk about the vegan diet that I tried, as well as my 5 key takeaways from this experience. And I'm gonna talk about the thing that made me stop the diet. And by the way, I didn't cheat at all. I ate 100% vegan for a full 7 days. So as someone who's a huge meat eater and someone who ate strictly carnivore for 2 months and then going to more of an animal-based, I figured, hey, you know what? It's time to try a vegan diet. Thought it'd be fun, didn't really have much interest, didn't think it was gonna be great or that I would stick to it forever, but I figured it was worth a go. I like challenges, I like doing different diets and keeping things interesting. I talk shit about vegans, mostly for fun, but I don't think that it's an optimal diet. But you know what? I'll try almost anything, at least one. That's just who I am. I wanted to give this a solid go. I wanted to do a full week, not just a single day. So I'm sure many of you have seen the guy Brian Johnson, who spends about $2 million a year on his anti-aging and biohacking routine. He went viral pretty recently, is doing this big PR run, going on a ton of different podcasts and showing the world what he's doing with his diet. And he actually eats vegan. So I thought it would be an awesome idea to go ahead and copy his vegan diet, as it's something that has been, ironed out as an incredibly healthy vegan style diet. And I thought it would be a cool challenge. I actually made a fully comprehensive video and a walkthrough of my entire journey for 7 days. Now that's gonna be a separate video that I'll link here so you can go check that out as well. But in this video, I'm just gonna breeze over some of the key takeaways that I had. And I'm gonna tell you what I ate in the diet. So his diet is comprised of about 6-ish different meals, okay? Now, the first meal is actually a drink. It's a pre-workout drink called the Green Giant. That's where you mix 20 ounces of water with collagen, spermidine powder, amino acids, cinnamon, creatine, cocoa flavanols, and maybe some chlorella powder, depending if you went for chlorella powder or if you went for spermidine. He then eats the same meal every day called the Super Veggie. Essentially, this is a huge bowl of vegetables. You've got about 300 grams of black lentils, you've got 250 grams of broccoli, you got cauliflower in there, shiitake mushroom, garlic, cumin, apple cider vinegar, lime, and you can eat it either as this huge bowl of whole veggies, or you can boil up the veggies, you can throw them into a blender and you can blend it all into a hummus. And you top that with extra virgin olive oil and hemp seeds. I chose to go the hummus route as I thought that actually sounded kind of good, and I didn't really want to eat all the vegetables. As someone who eats a lot of carnivore style, I don't really eat many vegetables, so I didn't really want to choke all that down. The next meal that I ate is called the Nutty Pudding. This is actually a really good pudding where it's a mixture of nuts, berries, protein powder, almond milk, and it's actually really good together. You put it in there with sunflower lecithin, which is not to be confused with sunflower oil, which is not good for you, but sunflower lecithin is totally fine. It's actually an emulsifier, so it helps everything stick together, and you blend all of it together. Instead of it being a smoothie, you let it sit for a while and it turns into a pudding. This meal was actually phenomenal. And then for dinner every night, you've got a couple different options. There were 2 different salads that I made that are on his website, as well as a stuffed sweet potato, which was essentially roasted sweet potato with roasted grape tomatoes, with avocado, chickpeas, and radish. And that one was actually really good. But let's get into the takeaways, because there's 5 key ones that I want to talk about. Now, the first one is that I actually slept better during this diet. I'm not sure why, but I was tracking on my Oura Ring and my average sleep score went from a 73.8 all the way up to an 80.2. Now, there could have been some other factors in here. There's always somewhat of variability between sleep quality night to night. But I was also, while I was doing this diet, I was on a very regimented, very clear schedule where I was going to bed, waking up at the exact same time, wasn't eating out, wasn't drinking or partying or doing any of that. Now, the week prior, which I had the average score of 73, I wasn't doing any of those things either, and I was very regimented. So who knows what the difference was, but that's a key takeaway that I had, and it's pretty interesting. Second big takeaway is that eating vegan makes you full. I thought going into it that having a low protein diet, and a lot of vegans are basically protein deficient, that I wouldn't be full, that I wouldn't be satiated, because protein, as we know, or as commonly held belief in the fitness, bodybuilding, health community, is that protein is one of the macronutrients that's most responsible for feeling full and feeling satiated. But especially with the Super Veggie meal, which was just a ton of vegetables, what it is it's a high volume of low calorie foods. And actually, that's one way to make yourself feel full. Even though they're lower calorie, I had so much of it. It was such a huge bowl and so many veggies that I just had to choke it down. It was like an extremely high volume amount of foods. And even though it was, not super high in protein, it made me incredibly full. So big takeaway there was that, lower calorie but higher volume of foods actually makes me feel a lot more satiated than higher calorie, lower volume foods, something like, an avocado, butter, steak, nuts, those types of things. I was shocked, honestly. I had trouble finishing some of the meals. One of the salads I had to choke down because I was getting full too. I thought I was gonna be hungry the entire time with low protein. And this led to less cravings and less snacking. Now, because of the diet that I was on and I was super strict with making these meals and recipes, I didn't really have a lot of snack food around that fit the diet. So that was one reason why I didn't snack. But the other reason was I was just full and satiated the entire time. All right, my next takeaway is that eating vegan takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. Not only is the number of different ingredients that you need to purchase pretty high compared to some of the other diets and things that I've done, the amount of kitchen equipment that you need is really high. I mean, I had to like borrow a kitchen equipment, like different bowls and a huge large pot and things that I actually didn't already have. And the prep time for the food is really high because a lot of times to make these meals complete, to make them taste good, you need a lot of different ingredients. You need a lot of different things. I mean, I purchased more vegetables than I ever have in my entire life. I mean, I had radishes, I had fennel, I had different spring mix, arugula, sweet potatoes, grape tomatoes, chickpeas, all these different things. And in order to make it taste good and to have these salads and these complete meals, you need to follow a recipe with just a lot of different items. And it's a lot tougher to actually meal prep or to batch cook your meals doing it this way, because when you think about things like salads, when you think about, avocado or guacamole that I put on the stuffed sweet potato, those things don't really last very well in the fridge, and they get soggy and they get wet and they just don't keep as well. They're not as easy as, making a bunch of chicken breasts or steak or beef or something and throwing it in the microwave, after a few days in the refrigerator and being good to go. And again, making a full salad, making some of these other recipes, it just takes a lot of time. There's a lot of different ingredients that just don't last very long. It leads to a very long prep time, and it's a lot to clean up. I mean, I had so many different cutting boards and bowls and pots and pans and all this stuff that by the time I was done making the food, I was like, all right, that took a while, and I haven't even started cleaning everything yet. All right, now for my fourth takeaway is that my body felt like shit, but my mind was clear as day. I actually got high after my first meal. I know that sounds crazy and you're gonna be like, what the hell, this guy is totally lying, but I can't even explain it. And again, I'm gonna link my other video where I go through the full process and you can see me walking through the entire diet. And I talk about how after the very first meal that I ate on Monday morning of doing this 7-day challenge, I literally felt like some sort of high. I was in this like really good mood. My mind felt like really good, but clear, but altered, and I was kind of like giggly and laughing. I mean, I literally felt like I was slightly buzzed or high on something. It was a weird experience. It was almost like a ketosis high or mental clarity. You hear about sometimes when people go on a ketogenic diet and maybe they're testing their blood ketones by pricking their finger and they know they're actually in a deep state of ketosis. They talk about this keto high, this sort of level of mental clarity where your brain is operating on ketones instead of on carbohydrates and glucose, and you really have this like clear, focused, steady state of energy that is really well sustained throughout the day. And that's kind of what it felt like. I didn't have any brain fog. A lot of times after eating these meals, even though my digestion and my body felt like shit, my mind felt really good and I was really clear and sharp. I probably would have been feeling amazing and would have like absolutely loved the diet if I had that mental clarity and my body felt really good. But I just had a lot of daytime fatigue and I had bloating and I had digestive issues, and it was just so many beans and vegetables and things that I don't normally eat. So my digestion was pretty wrecked. And for the last takeaway, this is gonna be number 5, is big diet adjustments like this, they take time. I would say starting the vegan diet was really quite of an adjustment period for about 3 to 4 days. And I felt really terrible at that time. I had less strength in the gym. I had a bunch of daytime fatigue, a bunch of bloating and indigestion. But after that time, about 3 to 4 days is when I started feeling, a lot more normal, a lot better. And I feel like my body really adjusted. And then when I was done with the 7 days, as my body was really starting to feel adjusted and, probably could have been starting to feel really good and going on the up and up, I switched back and I went back to my more animal-based kind of carnivore diet. And there was an adjustment period there as well. For the first 3-4 days of me going back to my regular diet, I felt kind of shitty as well. I think you get a lot better results for trying any sort of diet, but specifically if you're trying a vegan diet, for doing it more than 7 days. I think you should give yourself at least 14 days minimum to let your body go through that adjustment period and then really start sort of building up the gut bacteria and everything that you need to really fully digest the foods and feel your best. Now, the reason why I stopped this diet is because quite honestly, I just never considered fully going vegan. This wasn't something where I was like, hey, let me try this out, see if I really, really like it, and then I'm gonna be vegan forever, or that I think it's the most optimal diet. I simply wanted to try it out just for fun, try out the Brian Johnson diet and just see how it went. After successfully completing the challenge and doing a full 7 days, made the video, I went right back. It's important to keep in mind that a diet like this, you know, specifically the Brian Johnson diet, but any sort of diet, any vegan diet or whatever, you're going to get the absolute best results by continuing to monitor yourself, taking mental notes, taking physical notes of what's going on in your body based around the foods that you eat. And I mean, I can't have really expected this diet to have done wonders for me, because this diet specifically that I tried out was very curated and iterated upon a bunch, you know, because this diet was very carefully planned out, tested, iterated upon, changed up to specifically meet the needs and the, you know, specific, you know, requirements of Brian Johnson's body and how he processes food and his digestion and everything. So it was totally tailored towards him. You know, I can't expect a diet that's tailored towards someone else to just, you know, amazingly work for me. But that's all I have. That was the vegan diet experience. That's what I did. If you find any of this stuff interesting, you know the deal. Like, comment, help your boy out. Consider subscribing so that you can learn more about how to optimize your health, fitness, how you can learn more about biohacking. That's all I have for you guys today. Enjoy the rest of your week.